it's Cindy here, and today we'll be making a coffee and espresso loaf. Now you can make this into a cake if you like. I'm just going to be making it into a loaf pan because it's easier to cut. So I took this recipe, adapted it from the King Arthur flour book. And the recipe that I started off with was the chocolate breakfast muffins. And basically, I used this whole recipe. I just added a shot of espresso. And what I'm going to be doing is, I'm going to be making an espresso with my Nespresso. And I'm using like the chocolate flavored espresso. So you can always use powder espresso. You can just use instant coffee. You can use regular coffee. You don't necessarily have to use espresso, but that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to brew my coffee and get started. And red. And I already turned it on to warm up the water. And there's nothing inside of it. I already ejected the last capsule that I had. So I'm just going to add it in. It's super easy. Just make sure it's all the way open. Add it in. Just make sure it's on an angle. There we go. Now it's in. Perfect. Now I'm going to use the long one. But this mug over here is a little too small, so I'm just going to stop it when it gets all the way to the top. Just going to eject the capsule. Get started on this cake. So the ingredients that you're going to need is 2/3 of a cup of cocoa, a cup and 3/4 of a cup of bleached flour or unbleached flour, 1 1/4 cup of light brown sugar. Now mine, I have light brown sugar and white sugar because I didn't have enough. And also you're going to need a teaspoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan salt. 1 cup of chocolate chips. I have it in the fridge. 2 eggs, also in the fridge. A cup of milk in the fridge. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. You can see it over there. 2 teaspoons of vinegar, and 8 tablespoons or 1 stick of melted butter. And I'm going to melt that in a moment. So what I'm going to do first is get all the dry ingredients together in a bowl and sift my flour. And I'm going to get all the wet ingredients in a bowl and cream them up really well. Sugar and mix them well. Add the sugar. Let's add my semi-melted butter in the mixture too. And put the rest of your wet ingredients inside and just give it all a good mix. So what I did here is I poured the espresso inside my 1 cup of milk just to help it cool down. The cocoa, the salt, baking powder and baking soda. Then add your flour. So after you mix it, see, it looks really smooth and delicious. And it tastes, oh my god, so good. If you have an espresso machine, I highly recommend you use this to make the cake. A cup of chocolate chips. I have semi-sweet, but feel free to use dark chocolate. That would be so good in this. Bring you closer to the deliciousness. Look at that. Okay, so I'm just going to butter up my loaf pans. This does make 2 loaves. If you want only 1, make sure you only put half the recipe. Make sure you only make half the recipe, I should say. Okay, so half and half. And halfway when this is baking, you can take it out and put some raw cane sugar on top. Give it a crispy top. Oh, so good. And that Nespresso made this delicious.